Evening, Paul. What stood out about the second period for your group?
I thought, they got a big shot run on us there early. And then we I thought we were too far away from the puck early, and then we did a real nice job starting to support the puck and move it a little bit better, and push back. Did a better job controlling the middle as that period went on a little bit.
We'll go next to Josh Clipperton from the Canadian Press. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Paul. Josh Morrissey said that after Saturday, he went in and told the guys to flush that game. I'm just wondering what the balancing act is for a coach between the tough love and the forget it when there's a game like that, when you obviously have things you want to correct, but you don't want to get guys in their own head.
So you can't look at the game as the only event, of the last 3 weeks. We really liked a lot of our compete and where we were going into that game. And then if you've got a repeating problem in a game, and then all the rest of your game you don't mind, but and usually you're talking about like an effort issue or a cheat issue or something where we're thinking about offense when we should be thinking about defense. But we weren't very good, right? Like the whole entire team's minus, right? Both goalies don't like their game. And that wasn't who we were going in. We've played 25 games. We've had one of those. So do the math on that. 96% of the time we haven't played like that. So that's the 4% of your first 100 games that you don't like, you leave it.
We'll go next to Drew Mindell from the Illegal Curve. Go ahead, Drew.
Paul, does Mason Appleton have that kind of confident net drive last year, or is that a player who's beginning to harness all his talents and play with that level of confidence to do that?
Yeah, success, we get success at times, for sure. He's done it a couple times. He's got some action on it. He's driving the net now. But, I think I talked this morning, like a lot of this game is just 6 inches, right? It's a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, a little more powerful. So it's not so much where you are at the red line on the player, but where are you at the hash marks? And if you can gain 6 inches and now you can get that inside body position, you've had success doing it. And I think those three guys as a line talk about that idea, that style of game. There are other lines that will pull up on that, try to find a seam, try to do it differently. But those guys want to go to the net and go to the net hard. So it's kind of part of the people that you hang out with, they're hard driving guys to that. So I think he's kind of learned from them.
We'll go next to Jamie Thomas from 680 CJOB Jets Radio. Go ahead, Jamie.
Hey, Paul, you're down to 5 defensemen essentially at the early part of the second period. Josh Morrissey plays 29 minutes, scores a goal tonight. Was that one of his best games of the year?
It was, because it was just such a huge step-up game. You're playing the number one team in the league. So much firepower. We lost Bull early, and he now is pressed into big minutes. I thought all of them were real good. I thought you saw a little bit at the end of the game, right? Being able to close a gap, not on Josh, but just in general, that the wear and tear that team's skill level puts on you. Thought you saw it in the end, but boy, that he was really good as gap, and then all the other things went with it. He made a bunch of real smart plays with the puck, a bunch of real good defensive plays as well.
We'll go next to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, Paul, that game against Montreal where you guys got outshot, after the game, you said, there's certain things that have to happen for you to win a game like that. You get Hellebuyck playing how he's getting. Well, Toronto's big guys showed up tonight as expected. You go out and you get a great goaltending performance by Connor Hellebuyck. You get Mason Appleton scores the game winner. Josh Morrissey gets his first of the year. How is it that this team is so good at putting the right pieces together at the right times to come up with wins?
I think we have a good understanding of our game, and we're getting better at it. And I would say I like about 40 minutes of that. And what I mean is, on a percentage basis, there was a bunch of that game I did like. I thought we played a pretty smart road game in parts and handled some of our own D zone well. And then there's a chunk that, they know from the bench reads that we've got to make a little quicker, a little faster. So if your goaltender's that good, you always have a chance to win. That's true of every game that's ever been played. And then there's lots of guys now that don't feel like we're not that young anymore. That I got 7 guys on the bench that they're not really, it's not so much not invested in the win. They don't. So Mason Appleton the better way to say it, Mason Appleton comes to the rink and he knows that his performance matters for our chance to win. He feels the weight of it also the responsibility of it, and the opportunity of it too. So he's not just a guy trying to make the team. He's the team. He's part of the drivers.
We'll go next to Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Gregor. Paul, aside from the things you liked about this game, what do you know is going to need some work and needs to get better for the rest of this series?
Well, Paul, never ever introduce a negative. That's your job. But I would say that the difference between what we liked and we didn't like is a puck support thing. So playing closer together, controlling the middle of the ice. At times we were good at it. And you know what? It was what we were really, I thought, poor at our first, our first trip in here, the second game or whatever we played in the year. And then I thought we got much better at that for a very long stretch of time. But when you play these guys, they're going to expose it too, right? Like this is what they're really, really good at. So we were much better hockey team in here tonight than we were the last time in my mind. So there's progress there. And that idea of close supports is something that we'll work on all year.
We'll go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Paul. Is it too early for any kind of update on Nate Beaulieu and how long that might be? And just as sort of a secondary question, you guys are now 7-4 when you're trailing after one. You're 7-0-1 when you're coming off a regulation loss. What do those numbers, I guess, say about this team?
I think it goes back to having a strong I don't need to go in and tell them how they've played, right? We'll do video tomorrow. We'll talk about the things but they have a really good understanding of what they've seen. So even if you're down a goal and you're in the game, and that was true after actually the first in Montreal. We're down one and hit a stanchion center net. Like we were fine. They have a good understanding of what they're seeing, right? It's not how are we up by 2 or how are we down by 2. They're going, hey, we're all right here. And you hear that on their bench an awful lot, even when they're down. Hey, we're all right here. This is good. And that's just maturity, Mike. That's just having a few more years in the league on a bunch of now not so young guys and keep playing in the Nikolai Ehlers makes that incredible pass to Kyle Connor and their minds are right and they're feeling positive where we're at.
We'll go next to Murat Atesh from The Athletic. Go ahead, Murat.
Thanks, Gregor. Paul, from a perspective of the other team gets paid to play too, Toronto's been very good against all teams getting chances from the middle of the ice. I'm wondering if you can explain kind of what it is about them in the offensive zone using their opportunities, opens up that ice and gets them to the middle.
They have a really, really skilled team that plays fast. So, and they look for it, right? They look for those plays, right? They're trying to create that. They will shoot pucks for sure, but because they find that play so much, they instinctively go to it. They can, like at some of the passes that they make look clean and easy on TV, but they're not. They're hard to do. I think that they're, maybe the best inside team in the league in terms of getting it off the wall and finding that seam and getting from behind the net onto the tape in the slot. It's not just a skill level thing. But that's a big part of it. I would say that they've had so much success doing it. They're kind of elite at it now. They can find it if they need it, right? Like and that's what they did. They pushed them in. They had a bunch of shots from the inner slot at the end there, and they're good at that.
Just a couple more for Coach. We'll go next to Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weaver.
Paul, Mason Appleton said, you know what you're going to get from Connor Hellebuyck after he gets pulled. I mean, as a coach, what does that mean to have that quality? And also, could you still answer that question about Beaulieu if you have any information on him?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't. No, so I don't. He didn't return, but we'll have him looked at and have. I'll pretty sure I'll be able to give you, based on what I know of it, I'll be able to give you a pretty clean update tomorrow on where he's at with it. And yeah, I spent a lot of years in the league, Ken, where good men, decent goaltenders, right? But that guy is in that elite level. So when we're talking about, and I'll just say our team, when we're talking about Mark Scheifele or we're talking about Kyle Connor or Blake Wheeler's passing, right? There's an eliteness to it. And that is absolutely true of Connor Hellebuyck. He has driven himself to become an elite goalie that he comes to this rink today, not just fired up. There's also an underlying confidence there that he's going to be good.